Back in 2007, I was, at the height of my career, had a really good job with a great company, and everything just changed completely. I was assaulted in the Castro district by a group of former friends. The assault led to my blindness. And from one day to the next, I went from being someone in business who was respected to someone who had to depend on others and just had to, learn how to be an adult again.
Wow, it's one thing to lose your sight when you're a kid, but as an adult, I mean, I don't think anybody can really know what that is like.
I would be lying if I say it wasn't hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
But, I live in this wonderful city with great services. And, 2 days after my doomsday prognosis, I had a social worker at my house. And I think part of the reason why I was able to rehabilitate so quickly, because 1 year after the assault, I was already working, was because I was in San Francisco. And we have such great services here. And I think that this is, if you're going to be blind, you might as well be blind in San Francisco. So.
Yeah.
Out of the things that would be negative, a lot of positive things happen. Is that correct?
There's been a lot of grief, but a lot of gain. And I think a lot of that just came from my ability of being able to contrast my previous life to my new life. I went from someone who people would greet on the street to someone who the general public didn't know how to interact with me. And so I started, writing just my thoughts and eventually turned into a book, and I started publishing, and, things really picked up for me. So I definitely grew from that.
So your first book is Blind, a memoir. This is basically the story of your, first 2 years?
Absolutely. So it's basically my rehabilitation, learning to be a blind person. What people know about disabilities, a lot of the times it's outdated due to technology. I mean, we have all these apps now. I have one that tells me what my clothes look like. So technology.
Really?
Exactly, yeah.
We need one of those for Maria.
Exactly. Well, I'll hook you up. How about that? Yes. So,
can you put your mood in, or
you'll be surprised what they could do.
Wow. When this happened to you, were there certain phases you went through? Was there first fear, anger, acceptance? Was there? What did you go through emotionally?
I went through every emotion possible, and obviously I went through depression, denial. I had to go through all them to get to where I'm at right now. One of the things that was important was that, my family, they never told me that you're gonna be okay. They never said that. My mom said, you're gonna have some very shitty days because you're blind, but you're also gonna have some amazing days, and you're gonna meet people that otherwise you would have never met.
Well, that's true.
My family was very supportive. They actually went to take classes to deal with me, and so that was amazing too.
This is probably a hard question, but how is it your social life in terms of dating and your social life? I mean, that obviously must have changed a lot. How is that?
Well, absolutely. So, when I was sighted, I was definitely like the hunter, the guy, buying the guy across the bar a drink or something, I was totally me, versus now I had to be more patient, right? So I had to, learn how to,
be more demure.
Exactly, learn how to bat my eyelashes right and pose and stuff like that. But definitely that changed, and it took there was some frustration where I'm just like, pick me, I felt like it was high school again,
It's always high school.
I guess it really is,
right?
It is. And, there's not a lot of blind writers around, and so, I think that just to get some of the honors that I've received just really let me know that the world is changing. We're really understanding disability a little bit better than we did even just 10 years ago.
Probably through what you're saying, too.
Exactly. Well, I do want to say that I don't write this for a purpose. I just write my feelings, and it's really cool that people like them.
Well, you sound like a writer.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I think my blog it's definitely a platform to talk about things that are really social justice. I think that, news has really changed in the last 10 years in this country, where now, certain reality stars are considered news. Do you know what I mean? And so that takes up so much distraction that we sometimes don't give, a platform or a voice to people who are doing something noteworthy.
Yeah, it's like, and you had said that if educating a population on disability will produce an awakened generation. And I am guilty of this, and I'm not proud of this, is that when I see a disabled person, sometimes you don't want to relate to them because you're afraid that could happen to you.
Exactly. Disability is a minority group, right? But it's probably the minority group that, the odds of everyone joining as they get older are very high, As we age, we slow down, our eyes, our vision, hearing, walking, mobility changes. And so what I meant by that is that the more you associate with disability, I think that as you age, you'll be able to accept your body changes better. The other face of that, where I know that when people are helping me, it's because they want to help me. Generally, I think people want to engage with me, and they just don't always know how.
Right.
And I think by offering help is the first way to break the ice.
Yeah, and you mentioned that not having eye contact makes it hard to connect with people. But when I first met you, I had this connection that I kind of can't describe. You knew I was there. Your presence seemed to be very different, very powerful.
Well, it's kind of like, when I lost my sight, I was thinking I would become like, you know, like a mutant, like an X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Like Daredevil, and I was waiting for my different senses to develop, and they didn't quite develop the way I would hope.
It's not the way you thought it would be?
No, I thought I had like bionic hearing. I could hear like my neighbors getting on or something. No, it didn't happen. But
well, come to my house. You can hear it every night.
there you go. But one of the things that I think that I've really picked up was the sense of, you know, just understanding where sound comes from and movement. I'm always able to tell somehow where people are standing, you know, I don't know, call it a sixth sense or whatever.
This year, you are a Grand Marshal at Pride.
I am.
Which is like, you know, such a great honor. What does Pride mean to you?
Pride for me means freedom, and I was selected by the Pride Board, which is like an accolade all on its own. And the Pride Board is, you know, composed of these amazing LGBT leaders and, you know, these amazing men and women, or everything under the rainbow. And
all the movers and shakers.
Exactly, and so for them to, you know, notice my work and acknowledge what I'm doing felt magnificent. It was like, you know, 1,000 champagne bottles opening, cracking all at once. And it was an amazing honor. I am the first blind Grand Marshal in the history of Pride.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know, a bad thing happened, but all the good that's come from it. I mean,
exactly.
It's just the way I look at life.
You know the old saying that says people make lemonade out of lemons. I made lemon martini.
I was going to say.
I actually have a monthly column with the bar, which is called Seeing in the Dark, and people could check it out at, you know, ebar.com. Yeah. And I also, you know, have a Twitter and Facebook, and people could look me up and keep in touch.
And you also write for the Huffington Post, and what are the other papers you write for?
South Florida Gay News. You know, I kind of get around, so it's, you know.